Cab Chat, the most powerful taxi podcast in the world.
Where you're hearing things. Where you're hearing things.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Cab Chat, and I think we're going to have to explain why we've played that song at the beginning of the show.
It was a lovely song. I enjoyed it.
Did you?
Yeah. Well, it's nice to come out to the country.
Yeah, because we're. If you look at the picture that's on the on the.
I don't think it's a picture, or is it?
No.
Or use it to scare the cats away.
Yeah, the picture that's on the podcast this week. Then you'll realise that we're in the country because we're not in London, which is a bit ironic, really, seeing as this is a show about London taxi drivers.
Yeah, well,
or about cab drivers. Not so much specifically London cab drivers anymore, but cab drivers.
But the thing is I was saying to Jamie, I do like coming down here. It's lovely sunny days. Been the last couple of free Sundays. Last sunny days on the day that I come down.
Yeah,
and it's just nice to get out the
house.
I think inside I am a country boy.
Yeah. Is that what someone called you?
Yeah, they've called me that before.
The Y of the end.
No, they call me a country boy.
Yeah.
I think you're the human race. I mean, I think we are basically country people anyway.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And I think it's only just with the, the industrialisation. Obviously, we got booted off the farms and stuff like that, and we went to cities to work.
Yep.
And to ply our fair trade.
That's right.
In other little diverse little careers we furrowed out for ourselves.
Now, we've got to explain something. If you're listening to this or watching on YouTube, which there's no video on YouTube at the moment because we ain't got the video cameras set up as yet.
Which is good because you've just seen the photograph.
We've got faces for radio, as some of the jingles say. You won't know what we're talking about the song that's at the beginning of the show because... we can't play copyrighted music on YouTube.
So that would have been booted out and you'd be listening to some generic tune which should have no relevance to what we're speaking about.
Elevator music.
Yes.
You'll be listening to.
Yeah.
So we played Cliff Richard's In the Country at the beginning of the show. So that's basically what we're on about.
Cliff Richard and The Shadows. I think we better give it full accreditation.
Shadows, yeah.
Yep, absolutely. Band of the 60s.
Yep.
Were you born then?
Right at the end of the 60s, 67.
Yes,
67.
I was the earlier vintage. Yeah, I was
vintage.
I was the earlier part of the 60s, 70s. Lived through mods, rockers, greasers. I've really lived.
So we better tell people what's coming up in this week's show. We've got, of course, our Drumslayer, as always. He never ever lets us down.
Never lets us down.
We've got Dan from Plan. We've got a taxi rank titter from Dropkick Rig. So quite a full show this week.
We've got a full bunch.
So we'll be back after this.
Here at Cab Chat, we've been called a cult. Well, we think that's what they say.
Taxi!
Around the world from London, we broadcast everywhere. We love you wherever you are, we really do not care. Driving down the Kingsway or sitting on a stand, you think we have it sorted, but we have nothing planned.
So as I say, we've got a full show this week. With everybody, all the team involved, really, except for Crispo and Scott.
Yeah, we're having to pull them out from doing what they've been doing through lockdown.
Yeah, exactly. So, we need photographs of your lockdown non-haircuts. Really,
I can't.
I mean, you can see Mac's one in the photograph that's on the podcast this week. I haven't succumbed to this really, except that I ain't bothered shaving a lot. Really.
Well, this is a bit of manscaping. I know that's another part of the anatomy. But what I'm saying is, like, I mean, obviously, when you hear this, it will be Monday. We were obviously recording it before. I can't wait till Monday.
You can't wait till Monday to get your haircut?
I need my syrup done, mate.
Really?
Proper.
Yeah, I've got to agree. I've got to agree with you, really.
I haven't had hair like this,
So what we want you to do is on Twitter, we want you to tweet us
your mad hair,
your mad lockdown hair.
Yes, and we'll have a competition.
Yeah, I think at the moment Dan at Plan is basically he's lengths ahead at the moment, lengths ahead.
Very good link into that. That's very good.
He's got a very.
He's in our little team. He is.
I think some people will have to go a long way to beat that. I think
he does look like a barbarian.
Yeah,
he does look like Brian Blessed.
He does look like Brian Blessed, a younger version of Brian Blessed. And we're going to post a picture of Dan at Plan on our Instagram account, just so you can see and comment on his lockdown non-haircut. And he hasn't shaved either.
Unless we hear from Dan and a suitable
donation to the show.
We will be. It reminds me of Monty Python's, like the blackmail. If you don't know the blackmail sketch, then you won't know what I'm looking at. But if you get a chance, look it up, Monty Python's blackmail. Very good.
So what's been going on in the cab trade this week then? You've been keeping up to date.
I've been keeping abreast of it. What I've noticed is there is a slow filter towards drivers looking forward to coming to the end of it, and you was actually saying by virtue of some drivers are actually leaving their temporary employment when they take
it seems so,
and it's a good sign that hopefully, because this is the other thing, supply and demand. I know it's gonna be slow, no one's expecting it to be straight back to as it was before, so we will probably get a slow progression towards normality, whichever normality is. One
thing I found on Facebook, and I'm going to read this out. It was a licensed taxi driver's pledge to TfL and the Mayor. Yeah, this was on
right. Yeah,
and it says, "I will spend up to 5 years learning my trade in order to provide Londoners with the world's finest taxi service. I will abide by all rules and regulations set out by TfL and the Mayor of London. I will spend in excess of £50,000 to upgrade my taxi to zero-emissions vehicle. I will maintain an exemplary disciplinary record to ensure customer safety. I will proudly transport all disabled and vulnerable passengers in my wheelchair-accessible taxi. All I ask of TfL and the Mayor, please allow the taxi trade full access to all of London's road network so I can continue to give Londoners the service they deserve."
That's very well worded. Very well meaning, and it's basically what we've all done since we got our badges. Whether TfL are up for that, I don't think they can actually. I don't think they're capable of doing it, because they've got ulterior motives in everything they do.
Buses.
Absolutely right, and those of us who can hark back to the days before TfL. With Penton Street, the old carriage office, there was a lot more. You knew exactly where you stood.
Oh yeah, definitely, you did.
There's none of this. There was none of this grey area. It was either black or white. And in business, in our particular business, we got to have rules which are, we can look at and just go, that's it. We can do that. We can't do that.
I'll tell you another thing I found on social media the other day, and this is quite funny, because obviously it was as from last week that you was allowed to sort of meet up with one person outside, or 6 people from...
Even if you didn't want to meet up with that person.
Even if you didn't want to meet up with them. And someone's put up, because obviously some of these rules and regulations are quite ridiculous, and someone's put up the outside pub drinking laws from the 12th of April 2021, and this is from next week. So these are the rules if you want to go to the pub.
Or from today, if you're listening today.
Yeah. You can go inside the pub to get outside, then sit inside a covered area as long as it's outside. You can go inside to the toilet, but you can't go to the toilet outside. You can go inside to pay, but you must stay outside to drink. If it rains, you can sit inside the covered area, but only if it's outside. If you decide to go home, you can go inside the pub to get outside to walk home, to be inside again. You can walk past the bar to go to the toilet inside, but you must not carry a pint back outside. This is only safe if done by the bar staff. Only bar staff can take a drink outside to you, while you are inside the outside covered area. You can sit on the floor outside at the park or the beach and get a coffee or food from a stand outside. However, you must sit and be served at a table if you are inside a pub area, even if it's outside. You can sit with 6 people unless you have a big family, then you can sit with as many as you like. A meal no longer protects you while drinking, and the virus no longer comes out after 10 p.m, but only if you are outside. We hope this makes things clearer. We look forward to seeing you.
Wow, who wrote that? Ronnie Barker.
That's like the government wrote
saying
that.
Ronnie Barker would write in one of his sketches, which was always funny.
Yeah, the government wrote that.
That is absolutely
So basically, you can go inside the pub to go outside to sit in an outside.
Yeah, listen, just take away the number you first thought of.
Yeah.
It is absolutely where you can actually go and view a house.
Yep.
You could go and view a house, someone selling a house, but you couldn't go and see your granny.
No, that's right. But you can't go and see your granny in hospital, even if she's dying, but the newspaper reporter can. Yeah. Or the TV reporter can. They can go and see them. Yeah. Also, the other thing is that's quite ironic, and I don't know whether they've upheld this in Scotland. Pubs were allowed to open the other week inside, but they weren't allowed to sell alcohol. So you could go and sit there and look at the beer taps in the bar and just long for a pint, but not be able to have one.
Well, can you imagine that kicking right off in Glasgow?
Exactly.
Glasgow, the city of culture. Hey, give me a couple of that creme de menthe.
Exactly. Get
out. You know, I mean, you can look at it, you can view it, but the not. We're calling it stupid. It's just like it's all going to be like a distant memory soon, and hopefully we can.
Well, let's hope so.
And let's look forward to
the new normal. What is the new normal?
I ain't got a clue.
What is the new normal?
I ain't got a clue. Circumstances will be dictated by what we interpret it, what we accept as a society. And when these rules get really stupid, you're going to get. But there's so many compliant people. But the governments just sit down and figure out this, to belt and braces to encompass everything, and they're encompassing nothing.
Also, a warning, a WhatsApp warning. If you are a WhatsApp user, which I know a lot of cab drivers are prolific WhatsApp users, because there's lots of taxi-related WhatsApp groups out there. If you receive a message from someone saying, and I'm going to read you one. I'm going to read you a message because someone in the cab chat team inadvertently got hacked. In actual fact, two people did.
I replied to your warning as if I had been hacked.
Right, if you get a message sent to you that says, "Hello, I'm sorry, I sent you a 6-digit code by SMS by mistake. Can you pass it on to me, please? It is urgent." If you get a message like that on WhatsApp and you receive a 6-digit code sent to you by a text message, do not pass it on to anybody. Whoever you pass that 6-digit code on to will be able to take control of your WhatsApp account. And you will never, ever be able to get your WhatsApp account back again. So basically, if you've got any secure information in your WhatsApp account, then basically they've got control of everything.
Wow.
So
it's a nightmare out there, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a jungle.
It is.
Well, not all of it.
And if you're stupid enough to send the code on to someone, then basically,
but the thing is I get there's certain groups, obviously, which is emergency groups and stuff like that, which will go off. I haven't got them muted. And sometimes in the dead of night, you're half awake and you get out and you look at it, you can inadvertently do it. You just did it, but not
but basically what it's doing is someone else is requesting your WhatsApp account from another phone number, and then they take control of your account. Now, if you've sent secure information to somebody within your account to somebody else,
which we've all done,
then they've got that information. They can get that information.
So it's a good idea also, probably at this point, to have a look at your settings, and have a look at all your old storage stuff you've got on WhatsApp,
delete it all.
And what's not relevant,
delete the lot of it.
You think everyone says send us your driving license, send us this, send us that, and there's a lot of information in your phones, really. I mean, they're like little wallets. Information.
Anyway, we're going to go over to Dan from Plan for his contribution this week. When we come back, we're going to be talking about a TfL response to a Freedom of Information request on cycle lanes and how to pick up passengers in the cycle lanes. And also, Free Now with their Are You a Business Partner or an Employee? So over to you, Dan.
And now it's Recap Dan from Plan. He's the man.
Thanks, Jamie. Thanks, Mac. Hope you're all keeping well and staying safe. Hope everyone's enjoying the weather. Hope everyone had a nice bank holiday weekend. Sorry I've not been taking part in recent contributions to Cab Chat. Been quite busy here at Plan. Trying to get used to, and I hate this expression, the new normal. But people working from home, it's been quite challenging, not just for us, big businesses as well. I know that colleagues of mine and other people that I know, and people that I know work for some large businesses such as like Virgin Media, I know they've been struggling with staff working from home, etc. So it's impacted us all, this COVID thing, but let's move on. Other than that, what else I've been doing? Just been growing hair. Sorry for the follically challenged members of the team. But yeah, just been growing a lot of hair. I think Jamie and Mac alluded to it last week. I'm looking like something from the Royal Family, Jim from the Royal Family, or Brian Blessed. I'm not going to do the voices. I'll leave that up to Jamie and Mac if they want to have a go at the voices. So I'm going to keep this one short. I know I'm going to probably recap, so apologies for recapping, but I'll keep this one short. I've got some topics to talk about coming in the next few weeks. Topics on my list to talk about are what to do when you get a new vehicle, not just a taxi, but just a private car, and you're still keeping your old vehicle, because that's causing some people issues. What to do, I'm going to talk about business interruption insurance and how that's impacted certain businesses, because some businesses do buy what's known as business interruption insurance, and it wasn't designed for pandemics, and how that's impacted certain insurers, and how a recent legal case has impacted that. So it might be interesting to some of you guys out there, who knows. And I'm also going to talk about dangerous animals, because obviously following the Netflix thing of Tiger King, I know there's been some UK versions of it. I watched one yesterday with Ross Kemp, with people keeping wild animals in their homes here in the UK. So there are certain insurance requirements for some of these animals. So I'm going to talk about that. But that leads me on to, do you guys have any insurance questions? If you've got any, give me some stuff to talk about. Tweet the show, tweet Plan, tweet me, email the show, get in touch any way you want. Doesn't have to be taxi related insurance, could be anything. Life insurance, travel insurance, pet insurance, liability insurance, business insurance, commercial insurance, whatever it is, get in touch. I'm more than happy to answer any of your questions. But I'm opening it up to the wider question market as well. So if you've got any just general predicaments you're in and you want my opinion, or you want a second look at it, or you want a non-family opinion, you've got a predicament you're in, or you've got a situation you're in and you want to ask us, then ask me. I guess we'll all have a go at it. If you've got a question you want the Cab Chat team to answer it, then get in touch. Some of us might give you an opinion you haven't thought of, or give you an answer you hadn't thought of. So if you've got a predicament or a question you want answering, send it into the show, and let's have a stab at it. So I'm going to finish by giving you a fact or fiction. We used to do this back last year, and I thought, well, let's bring it back. So I've got a fact or fiction for you, brought to you today by our one of our IT team, Alex Moss. Shout out to you, Alex, if you're going to listen to this. So today's fact or fiction is from Alex Moss, as I said. There's another recap for you. He says, today, more messages are sent using carrier pigeons than are sent by fax messages. So, is that a fact or is it fiction? I'll hand you back to Jamie and Mac in the studio, and then hopefully they'll come back to me at some point, and I can tell you if that is fact or fiction. So, over to you guys, and I'll speak to you soon. All right, thanks a lot.
some extra listeners, cause we think we are great. So if you like our station, then please go tell a man. If you can get some other pal to tune into our show, we promise we will have a day with ginger nuts and cocoa. Oh, I do love ginger nuts.
Thanks for that, Dan. It's quite funny, quite ironic that he
even made reference to that we were taking
taking the mickey out of his hairstyle.
We mean it in a nice way.
Yeah.
But interesting stuff about insurance on insurance.
Yeah, definitely. And if you have got a question, don't forget to either tweet Dan at Plan, or tweet the show, and we'll forward it to Dan at Plan.
Not a problem.
And we're definitely going to post that picture of unless he comes across with the money. Yeah, you know, we're not mercenary. We're not mercenary at all. But you know,
we'll have a go.
If
his money's right.
If the money's right, or if you know, it's all towards the show. So you know, if the money's not right, we'll still post a picture.
Yeah, absolutely.
If it ain't enough money, we'll still post it anyway. But we'll still take his money.
And then we get money off people not to show the photo.
Oh yeah.
So we got
a double-edged sword there.
Absolutely right.
Exactly.
Absolutely. So whichever way, we just need some dosh out of it.
Yeah, we definitely need some dosh out of it.
So it's interesting. Obviously, the aspects he was speaking about, different type of insurances, life insurances, blah blah blah. I did actually hear somewhere that somebody saying, "Look, I've had a COVID jab.
Yeah.
And if I go ill because of that, am I covered?" And they come back and say, "No, you're not."
Really?
Yeah, I've heard, you know, and it's like the scaremongering tactics and all that. Oh, because it's new medication, which is how they called it's not research medicine. Do you see what I'm saying? But so I thought, well, that's interesting. I'd like to ask Dan myself that.
Yeah.
So I don't know whether
there's a question for you, Dan. If you've had a COVID jab, does it affect your life assurance policy?
Yeah,
if you become ill because of the COVID jab, not if you become ill because of anything else.
Not COVID, but because of the jab.
That's what I'm saying. If you become ill because of the COVID jab, does it affect? And say you die because of the COVID jab. Does it affect your life insurance policy, or assurance, or whatever they want to call it?
So it's
these
just
days?
one of them little things, because the pharmaceutical companies are not taking no responsibility for them. I mean, that's as
well, this government passed a law that the NHS haven't got to take responsibility for anything at the moment. So if you die,
nobody's taking responsibility
for anything.
But obviously, you've got life insurance,
and
suddenly you know, listen. There's side effects to every. I'm not one of these people saying, "Oh, don't have to." Look, you have what you like, but you know, there is side effects in everything.
Oh yeah.
You know, if you drink alcohol,
there's a side effect to that. You get pissed.
Your vision goes.
Yeah.
Your integrity goes. You know, it's like the more
you become brave.
Well, I start getting animals confused. I mean, that's how, when I drink, and I don't drink, as you know, I'm not a drinker, but I do drink. If I do drink, I do fall asleep. But just in that twilight zone, just before, like, I don't know, I suppose I don't get amorous or nothing like that. But you do. You start cuddling people and loving them and seeing all their failings as not so bad and stuff like that. Well, I start really confusing, the more and more I drink, I start confusing foxes for dogs.
Really?
Yeah. And
you start stroking foxes?
No, well, I've ended up going home with a few, I thought they were foxes, you know, and but
dogs.
It happens.
Right. Well, someone sent a Freedom of Information request to Transport for London, asking whether about cycle lanes and picking up in cycle lanes, and I'm going to read your reply to it, and then we'll have a little chat about it. It says, thank you for your feedback form, whatever date it was, I'm not going to read that out, about taxi drivers picking up and dropping off passengers in a cycle lane. I'm sorry for the delay in responding to you. I can confirm that if it is a normal cycle lane, then there is no problem with the taxi stopping at the side of the road to collect his passenger. Very sexist, isn't it? And the same rules would apply as if they were stopping on a red route, etc. However, if it is a CS cycle lane, cycle super lane, or super cycle lane, or a cycle super highway, or whatever they want to call them these days, because they keep changing the names of them, then the taxi is not permitted to enter the cycle lane at all, and the passenger would need to hail the cab as normal and then cross the cycle lane to board the cab. I hope this answers your question clearly.
What?
Yeah, basically what TfL was saying is if you are a passenger that wants to hail a taxi, you have to hail the taxi while standing on the pavement, and then dice with death crossing the cycle lane, and then enter the taxi. Now, if the taxi stopped at the side of the cycle lane, now this surely presents a problem, because when the passenger opens the door of the taxi, there could be a cycle coming along in the cycle lane. They open the door and crunch it straight into the cyclist.
Mate.
So TfL, you've created an absolute nightmare for everybody to deal with.
You know the plastic bollard things?
Yeah.
Is that classed as a lane?
Yeah, that's classed as a lane.
So you've got to pull up
outside of the
parallel
lane.
to that.
So what happens if
enough to swing a door open?
Yeah. So what happens if I want to pick up a wheelchair-bound passenger and I stop the other side of the cycle lane, right, and then I extend my ramp across the cycle lane to the pavement, because it would reach that far?
Yeah. It won't.
It would. It would reach with the extended step.
If you're uptight, okay.
It'd reach right the way across the cycle lane almost.
So then what does the cyclist do?
I don't know, they'd have to do a wheelie and maybe they do a jump over it or whatever.
The problematic, which I see a photograph, obviously, there was a scaffold lorry, and I tweeted it. A scaffold lorry tucked in between the plastic cone things, unloading his lorry.
Yeah.
I mean, like it's 18 tonners, tubes, pipes, clips, and everything. Well, got to be because I've done scaffolding. You know what I mean? You've got to throw that all your striking something, and he's got a ticket, obviously, because he's parked obscuring a bus lane, a cycle lane. So what is he meant to do? Be proud of that. To the left, to the right, whichever way you're looking at it, in the middle of the road, blocking the whole road off, whilst obviously loading and unloading. Yeah. So it's causing more traffic, and that's the problem with these is they are just manufacturing more and more traffic for us poor people who are sitting in the traffic.
Definitely. Now, what the other thing we was going to talk about before we go over to Dal for her diaries is Free Now have sent an email out to all drivers that are registered on
all of
Free
them.
Now.
Yeah. So Free Now is the love child of the amalgamation of whoever they were.
Halo, and then it was My Taxi, and now Captain.
And Tennille. It's just so it's the morphification of all these failed. Look, we want to nick the work and put it through us, but even
basically what they want you to do, what all these apps want you to do, is take your passenger, give it to them, and then bite back off of them for 15% now or 20%.
Or if they jump in the back of your cab, and you just happen to be a cab they've stopped, and they can tweet your number. And convert that job
to an app job.
To a job where they're getting some money out of.
Yeah, exactly. So they've sent everyone an email asking them... they've sent out a propaganda email, first of all, explaining that you're a business partner. Now what they've done is they've sent you another one saying, have your say. It's been about a week since we emailed you with our perspective on what the difference it would make if we changed from our current business partner model, low commissions and higher take-home pay, to a worker model, higher commissions, employee benefits and lower take-home pay. As we said, this is a very important topic to us, and we want to take the time to understand what you and all our drivers want before acting accordingly. The short survey link included in this email is just the starting point. There's lots more work for us to do, but we'd like to hear your initial opinion on which model you would prefer. Now, basically what it's saying is, if you want to become a worker, they would have to charge you a higher commission, but then obviously pay you holiday pay, sick pay, and pension.
As what the Court of Appeal said.
Yeah, the same as the employer.
Yeah.
But if you want to remain as a business partner, then things would stay the same, and you take home slightly more. I mean, you're talking about the difference is negligible, really. But what they're not stating is the obvious, and the obvious being, what is the difference between, them being an employer or them being an agent, and giving you work. And my perspective on this is that, if they're dictating the terms, i.e. they're saying to you, you will do this job for this amount of money, then they're the employer.
Absolutely.
And they're dictating the terms, so they can no longer be agent, they are principal. If I dictate to them, right, well, I want to be paid what's on the meter, and I'm happy for you to take 15% of that, then they're becoming their agent. But then that also poses a problem for them, because they can't then do private hire on the same app as they can taxi, because that poses a big problem for them. So this is why they're asking that question, because they're trying to circumvent the regulations, basically.
This is what it'll all be about.
Yeah. So basically what they want to do is they want all their drivers to say, no, obviously we want more money, so we want to stay business partners, and we can then circumvent, we can go to the government and say, look, all of our drivers say they want to be business partners, and we can circumvent the regulations, and then basically nothing changes. Well, and if you're happy with that, then that's fine, but then they can still carry on dictating the terms to you, and you can't do anything about it. If you say no to both options, right, then they've got to change their business model completely. And
it's got to be what it is according to... Look, we have laws of the land, or we don't. It's not a la carte, as I've said before. It's not pick and mix in work employment. It's one or the other. You're either running with the foxes or chasing with the hounds. Which are you?
The big problem I see at the moment is that so many drivers have become reliant on app work, especially through this pandemic, where there's virtually no street work about at all, that I think most drivers will bow to whatever Free Now want them to say.
Whilst they've got you over a barrel.
Because they basically got us over a barrel. And to my point is, we as a trade have got no one else to blame but ourselves for this, for allowing this to happen. We had the opportunity a long time ago to say no to these apps, but we was... a big percentage of the trade was fooled by the misconception that Halo was founded by free cab drivers, which we all know, and we've proved that it wasn't. It was founded by free Americans, one of them being Jay Bregman, who basically adapted a former business model of his to bring it to Halo and bring it to the taxi trade.
Was he the one who went on to try and do another app, which was then subsequently not allowed to...
No, that was Maxi Taxi, weren't it? That was Rothschild, Nat Rothschild.
They're all amongst it, aren't they? They're all amongst it.
They're
all trying to get like the little shilling out of... Look, what would you rather have? A Coca-Cola machine and have all the Coca-Cola that it sells in King's Cross Station. Would you like that? Yeah, I say that to you. You go, yeah, I'd love that. Or I'll give you another option of 10 pence out of every bottle sold in every station in all the country, in the whole country. Of course, you'd have the 10p out of every bottle sold out of every... and that is the Uber and all these people, is the percentage out of every journey.
Yep.
Not every driver like paying a bulk money.
Every journey.
Every journey we are putting a form of taxation or having a little sip of blood out of it.
Out of every single one of them.
Out of every job. So the taxation of a job.
We'd love to hear your thoughts on that and what you feel. If you're a Free Now user, don't get me wrong. We're not gonna slag you off for using Free Now or get at the end of the day needs must at times like this. And
if more so now, and forgetting about before the pandemic and stuff like that, people would always root people out and stuff like that.
And if you don't want to put your name to it, just phone, go on the website, leave a voice message. Don't put your name to it, and just leave a message as to what you think. What you feel the situation should be, or which way you feel it should go,
or what would better the situation.
Yeah, and we'll include it in the show, but you don't have to leave your name, because we know that we know the way that these apps work, and if you voice an opinion against what they want, then they're likely to ban you or suspend you from the app. So I've been there, done that numerous times before, and I'm probably going to get banned again now.
And the other thing is obviously if you send a voice in, we have got the capability and to disguise your voice.
Yeah, we can disguise your voice.
So it can be like...
But then it's very hard for them to find out who it is, even if you don't put your name to it anyway.
It's just making me laugh just thinking that about the Benny Hill scene.
Yeah.
Years ago where he's sitting in a lighting chair, the little guy used to slap on his head.
Yeah.
And he sits in his chair and he says he's doing an interview, and he's funny enough in an Irish accent. He says, "If people knew who my true identity is, my identity, I would be dead." And he says,
"I think you're sitting.
You're sitting in my chair." And he gets up and changes chair. That's what this would want. But no, if you want this, if you got serious, put it in a tweet, put it in a...
Well, don't put it in a tweet because you can find out who you was.
Anonymous phone call.
Anonymous phone call, like anonymous voice message.
Like the many others we get.
Yeah, or if you want to WhatsApp it to 07743161656, We won't reveal your phone number or anything. Yeah,
well, just
and
what your concerns are.
We can change your voice a little bit if you want us to do that. You know. But if you want to voice what you feel,
or if you want to say what you want to say, and you want us to paraphrase it,
we'll even do that. That's not a problem at all.
That's not a problem at all.
But if you don't want anyone to know who it was, then.
But it's obviously it's all concerning our trade. So and let's look forward, like the phoenix is rising out the ashes. Yep. We have to go look at the resurrection of our trade and how we intend to go forward.
And
with
get
this.
behind Taxi App and Taxi Now, because they're both cooperatives.
Absolutely.
And also Cab App, because they're offering drivers a share of the business.
Yeah.
And if you've got a share of the business, then you've got a say in the way the business is run. The problem with Free Now and Get, you have no say whatsoever in the way the business is run.
Thanks, Jamie. Thanks, Mac. It's Dan again, as you hadn't guessed. So I'm going to recap. My fact or fiction was, today more messages are sent using carrier pigeons than they are sent by fax message. So did you decide on whether that was fact or fiction? Did you Google it? Let's hope you didn't Google it. Anyway, I'm led to believe that is complete balderdash, and it is incorrect. Fax messages are still sent more than using carrier pigeons. So there you go. Hopefully speak to you guys next week, and I'll have another topic for you. Don't forget, and I'm recapping again, but don't forget, if you've got any questions, insurance or non-insurance related, tweet the show, message the show, email the show, text the show, WhatsApp the show, get in touch with the show with your questions, and let us answer them. So I'll hand you back to Jamie and Mac, and I'll catch up with you guys next week. All the best, guys. Speak soon.
Find us on Mixcloud. www.mixcloud.com/cabchat.
I lost my mum this year, as you know, and I was just going through some old tweets and stuff, and it's funny, I was thinking about what I want to do now coming lockdowns has finished. And all
so
that.
what are you going to do?
Well, go to the zoo.
You want to go to the zoo?
Yeah, because
it's funny you should say that, because someone put on Facebook earlier that when was the last time you went to a zoo?
Yeah, now obviously the whole capture of animals and all, there's a certain element of cruelty to it, and I accept that. Do you know what I mean? Like just let them live where they live.
Yep.
But I walked around this particular. It was up in Essex somewhere, and there was this huge grizzly. It was like a Russian bear, and it was standing up against the glass, and I just wanted to stab. I had that fear to leave it, to get away from it. Obviously that near thundercall, like get away from that as quick as you can.
Yeah.
But I thought, no, I must tame this, and I could feel.
You wanted to tame the bear?
No, there's no way I could. I'd just be his lunch. Do you know what I mean? But he was a huge thing, and his paws were huge, and I just stood by this glass thing and just looking. And he's looking right at me, as if he just wanted to take me, and I could feel the pheromones coming out of my body. The fear thing, because obviously with post-traumatic stress and stuff like that, like Prince Andrew says, you don't sweat. You don't. You do it at the most inappropriate times, and because you've got your threshold of fear is. But this really got it going.
Why don't Prince Andrew sweat? Well, this is
what he said in his interview, and there's no scientific thing to that. But what there is that people who suffer with post-traumatic stress, the fight, flight, freeze thing gets misbalanced. Funny, says the hippocampus, the bit what does us in the knowledge, which deals with that. So I just got up to this grizzly bear, and I was just looking at him, and I could feel this, and I just wanted to experience that. And it's, so that's what I miss, and so I'm wanting to go back, and also reminded me. And
you want to go back to the zoo to be scared?
No, I just want to see these animals again. I think it's very calming for the humans. Like a therapy. Yeah.
Is it like a therapy and like a sort of pensioners thing?
Yeah. I'll probably get a cheap day out up there.
You might get pensioners rates.
And while I was there was also at this zoo, there was animals running around like llamas free.
Yeah.
And I thought it was brilliant. And I see a little Joey kangaroo, and early days of camera phones. Yeah. And I took a photograph of it and sent it to my mum. and this is what I'm saying, this links into that. So I sent it off to my mum, saying, look, Mum, you know, you're in Australia, you've been there for 30 odd years, you know what I mean, blah, 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 40 years. There's this little Joey kangaroo.
Yeah.
And she sent it back, she says, you're one sick, you know, what are you doing, blah, blah, blah. I didn't know about phones, you know, you expand up the picture to get it bigger. It was a greyhound having a pony. Do you know what I mean? But it just... So it just all links in with Dale's story. It's funny how, you know, when people say things to you and flash, flash, flash,
a million
miles an hour, things come to your head. You know, I would love to stop eating meat and fish and stuff like that, but
you would, but no, it's too tasty.
It is that, tasty. You know what I mean? But I think it's something.
How can you have pie and mash without having meat?
I think it's what's programmed into you as a child as well. Do you know what I mean? I was not allowed to leave anything on the plate. Eat your meat. My dad would turn into a German Russian. Eat your meat. Boy, eat your meat. And wouldn't let it go. So. Yeah.
Something that's appeared on the Uber Drivers London forum.
Please, this was. Do you know, the tears were running down both legs when I read this.
This bloke put, scam alert, please share. I took part in this testing offer and I didn't get my voucher, but I was sent a letter in the post and now have to go to court. Now, please share in case anyone else knows and gets this text. It's disgusting.
This is the text.
Right, and I'm going to read. I'm going to read out to you the text that he got.
Now, all serious now. All serious now.
It's all sorts.
So you've got this. You've got this text.
You've got this text on your phone.
You've got this text on your phone now, right?
So it says, important announcement. Essex Police require 50 motorists to test the speed camera on the A127. At the Bell in Southend for calibration purposes. Please drive past it at 80 mile an hour to check that it has been set up correctly. The first 50 motorists to complete testing will receive a £25 Amazon gift card as long as your details are correct with the DVLA. Thanks, Essex Speed Camera Calibration Unit. And this guy has drove past it at 80 mile an hour.
You know, although I read that and I think, no. But you got to think of, you know, some of these are, you know, they're not really first up at the... They're not first up, are they, when they dishing out the brains, are they? They think they're saying, no, drains, I'll have a deep one, mate. Is there... I tweeted, when you tweeted that, I went, oh, no, was that fake? You know what I mean? Because I'd done it, I didn't. But I just thought it was for the comedy element. But, so, definitely. What else you found, Jay?
Not a lot, really. Not a lot this week.
Okay.
Not a lot seems to be going on, except for what Dale was saying. A lot of cab drivers seem to be looking forward to the prospect of going back to work.
Aren't we all? And likewise, I mean, I'll miss it. I mean, obviously, I'm at a different stage than a lot of guys. But, you know, I do genuinely miss it. And I did hear that a lot of drivers are actually going back from their temporary employment, as I said earlier, which is good, because we do actually need the cabs on the ground, to coin a phrase, and a lot of cabs are going to have to come out of where they've been laid dormant for a bit, have to be polished up and get ready, obviously, the testing centres to get their plates put back on and stuff like that. So it's going to be a busy little time with garages and stuff like that, so hopefully all looking forward to getting back to some sort of
sense of normality.
Absolutely.
But I don't think the work's going to pick up drastically.
We know that because office spaces and stuff like that, offices. But lots of people, office workers, are feeling, you know, as Jeremy allured to in his podcast last week, which I couldn't remember the name of, where you know, guys are sitting indoors with the kids and stuff like that, and
I will tell you the name of Jeremy's.
Yes, it's consciousness. We did this every week. Yes.
He's terrible with things like this. He really is.
It was consciousness, and he's going to make them simple, I think, as in future. Just name.
Is he going to make them simple?
I think so.
You think so? He's going to think.
Is that someone's phone ringing?
No, it's my wife's phone ringing.
Is it? Okay, we'll ignore that. We'll have that as a background. That'll probably get blocked off by YouTube anyway, because some sort of generic
some sort of music,
some tune which we shouldn't have on.
I'm just looking for the Cab Chat's Twitter feed.
It was consciousness and yes. But anyway,
Problem is, everything gets lost because Rob posts so much on Twitter.
Well, so many people put stuff into us. That's the other thing, is which we're thankful for. It just takes sometimes to go through it and just get the wheat from the chaff, because we do get a lot of stuff which is non-relevant to cab trade. Yeah, but sometimes it's got a bearing on it. In case of like the LTNs, where like we're getting emergency services putting out stuff, and but we have to look at it to see whether it's relevant to the station and broadcast it out.
Yeah, I saved it and I thought I'm gonna read that out this week, and it's disappeared off the feed. It's just completely disappeared.
He hasn't took it down,
no,
but it was one of 4 anyway. So can you remember his name? Jeremy Slattery. That's it. So that's easy.
Jeremy Slattery, and the podcast is actually under his name as well.
So it's
Jeremy
easy.
Slattery. It's
easy to find. But if anybody else has got any other little podcasts they want to put reference to and stuff like that, we're always interested to have a listen. And it doesn't have to be exactly wrapped around cab trade, does it?
No,
it can be about other issues. And we'll give it a little plug, a little tweet, and.
Yeah, I did. He said that you couldn't read it out, and I did say that you was dyslexic and had trouble reading things.
Yeah, I'm well. Yeah, but don't it ain't an issue. I mean, the dyslexia is just slight now. I mean, obviously it used to be chronic, but you just develop other things, don't you? You know what I mean? So it's not a disability as such.
Yeah, it's called consensus, between consensus and conspiracy.
Oh, so there's nothing to do with what I said?
No, nothing at all.
There you go.
That's Jeremy Slattery's podcast, if you want to have a listen to it. He's a cab driver, sits there in a chat with his brother, and it's
I think is a great. I think that's great dynamics.
Yeah.
Really,
it's called Between Consensus. No, let's get it right.
Right.
It's called Between Consensus and Conspiracy. And if you can't find it underneath that, or can't spell it, just look for Jeremy Slattery on your podcast app. Now, news about Apple Podcasts app.
Right.
Apple proposing to change the podcast app and the way you subscribe to podcasts.
Right.
They're going to totally fuck it up, basically.
Is that a technical term?
That's a technical term as to what they're going to do. Basically, you will no longer, in newer versions of the podcast app and iTunes, you will no longer be able to like or subscribe to a podcast. Basically,
right,
iTunes and the Apple Podcasts app is going to use your Twitter feed and your Facebook to decide which podcasts it thinks you might like and put them in your feed.
Oh, right.
So maybe now is the time to dump Apple Podcasts app and start using a totally different podcast app for downloading or subscribing or saving your podcasts.
Okay. So, because otherwise it would just phantomly just think of what you might...
think of what you might want to like, and
because you might...
I think there's probably going to be an outcry from podcasters about this, because it's going to totally screw up their likes and subscribes and things like that.
So, like, they're going to be working on the...
I mean, basically, all they're going to basically suggest to you is all the big ones like the BBC and things like that.
Yeah. So
things that they can gain revenue from,
or how they've decrypted in their analysation of where you've clicked to what you might be interested in.
Exactly.
So obviously incontinent pants and old people's tartan boots.
Yeah,
I'm going to get loads of stuff like that.
Yeah, you'll get stuff on Little Gardens.
Little Gardens, yeah,
but then you're not on Facebook, so it won't know. So if you haven't got a Twitter account or a Facebook account, but just like listening to podcasts, then it won't know what to suggest for you.
Yeah, absolutely. I always, like anytime you got to register anything, is what I always put. I find the oldest age I can be, and just click on that.
Like 121 or something like that.
More than that. I mean, one thing I went on is 1891 or something, and it was the 31st of December.
1891.
Something like that, and I'm a male.
Which makes you like 130.
And he gave me the page or whatever it was I wanted, and I've never ever got any clickbait on it, because they're obviously thinking, well, what can we sell this bloke?
Yeah. He's 130 years old.
You know what I mean? What are we going to send him? Because if if you're in a certain age group, they think, oh, you like trainers, and boots, and you like rap or something.
Yeah. Well, they might just send you stuff on Little Gardens.
That's. I'm a minimalist at the moment. I've turned minimalist on the garden.
You've turned into a minimalist.
No, only because I like cactus plants.
Really?
Yeah. I think they're a bit like me. They just don't need a lot of water.
Don't need a lot of water.
You leave them for months and they don't die. So, and then just replant them later, and then they're very prickly around the edge.
Yeah. I found a post on Facebook a while ago about funny stories in taxis. Yeah. And apparently this Asian geezer gets into a cab and he's got a heavy accent, and he says to the cab driver, Tutankhamun. Yeah.
Oh, right.
So off he goes, gets to Tutankhamun, asks where he wants. The passenger says, no, not here, Tutankhamun exhibition, British Museum.
Oh, very good.
Yeah,
very good.
Yeah, there's quite a few of them on there.
Yeah. I haven't heard, there's loads of taxi jokes, but you hear them and they're just a variation of a theme sometimes. But, very good, very good.
Yeah, there's quite a few on there. It's something we tried to do a long time ago about people's funny stories. So if you have got a funny story, you can always send it in to us.
Absolutely.
We could compile a book of funny stories. Or not a book, we could put them all on the website.
I could compile a book on just when people have got in, I thought they've said one thing and it's somewhere else.
Yeah.
And, like Canning Town. They definitely said to me, Canning Town.
Yeah.
And I went, Canning Town, like London Bridge. And they said, no, this ain't Camden Town. It says you said Canning Town.
Yeah.
So I always check.
Always check.
And you just run them up. You just run them up there and just go, sure. Or, there is your one, Linchester Square.
Linchester.
It's Leinster Square. But
Leinster.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't say Linchester, I said Leinster Square.
Leinster Square, but it's not. It's actually Leinster. Leinster Square. There's this, you say Leinster, I say Leinster. Because it's... and you said, no, you're wrong. And you phoned me and said, where are you? Because we were doing this. That's what I miss as well, Jay. Do you remember the treasure hunts?
Yeah.
Who was it? What was the company called on that? We used to do loads of them. I used to thoroughly enjoy them. It was a day's work for me, it was.
Yeah.
In the daytime, because I don't come out much in the daytime. I'm like a vampire bat. But no, it was interesting doing them. And are you going to get back to doing them with Team Tactics?
Well, I don't think people are doing taxi treasure hunts at the moment.
Not at the moment. I mean, obviously when it all gets back.
Well, yeah, I mean, we're going to do them ourselves. I don't think they're concentrating on them anymore.
Anyway,
so,
all right. Well, it was
gone into other avenues.
Have they really?
And so we're gonna
and the workforce
do them ourselves.
And the workforce we knew, who was very good.
Helen, yeah. Helen's no longer working there anymore.
Oh, right.
She hasn't been there for quite a few years.
That's how much I've been out to trade. It's like I feel like I've gone back in time.
Yeah, she's had a baby and
oh, lovely.
She doesn't work anymore.
Oh, right. Okay. We move on.
Yeah, we move on. I think it's now time to go over to Mr. Drumslayer and see what he's got to say this week. So we'll be back after this.
Thank you, Jamie and Mac. Well, hello, my fellow hostages to fortune. Today, Wednesday the 7th of April, 2021, has been quite momentous for Drumslayer. For today, and this is a Cab Chat exclusive, I've not told my missus, I've not told me stepchildren, I've not told me grandchildren, not told me best friends, but there is one person I've told, and it's somebody I've never ever met before. We communicate through WhatsApp. We have a little bit of a sort of Howard Hughes relationship. You remember Howard Hughes? He was the richest man in the world, which I've got nothing in common with him, by the way. And he used to have Mormons, executives, running his business affairs, but he never met them. He would be on the phone for hours and hours, but they never ever met. The man I speak of, entrusted with the secret of Drumslayer, is our one and only recap, Dan from Plan. And that's because over the last couple of days I've had a little bit of an insurance dilemma. Therefore, I have sought the wise counsel of Dan. Now, very quickly, let me start at the beginning. A couple of weeks ago, on Cab Chat, I announced that I'm approaching retirement age, pensionable retirement age, 66. Now, the Cab Chat team started to suggest on our WhatsApp group, let's have a party, a retirement party for Drumslayer. I informed them that they must have got the wrong end of Drumslayer's stick. But that's all right, because Drumslayer would have been holding the shitty end of said stick. So, what was so momentous about today? Well, I've only gone and bought a cab. Do you notice I didn't prefix that statement with the word new? Because it's a 63 reg TX4, very low mileage. The seller hasn't worked for well over a year, and he only ever used the cab once a week to visit his mother. God bless her. So there's about 5 years on this cab. So Drumslayer should be around, God willing, till he's 70. And then he might go electric, if by then you haven't all had me committed to an electric chair. Getting back to recap Dan, he's been so helpful. Me, I have no ideas regards the vagaries of insurance, especially at this present time owning 2 cabs. I won't own 2 cabs for long, because by May I shall be in the TX4 after it's overhauled. I've given Dan permission if he would like to use my dilemma in one of his Cab Chat pieces, and he could relay to you guys and girls all about it. You're probably all wondering why Drumslayer wants to stick around at least for another 5 years when the trade is in the state it is at the moment. Well, I think things are going to improve. I think there's going to be a mini boom at night. It's going to be like the Roaring Twenties without the prohibition. And there's going to be a race for cabs. A lot of people that are not driving at the moment will want to come back. You have to realise there's about just over 13,000 cabs left out there, but there is still about 20 to 21,000 drivers, which is why I've been compelled to get in quick, find myself a really, really top-notch, decent, ticks all the boxes cab now rather than later, because if I would have left it till August, then I'd be in the queue with everybody else. So when all the decent second-hand cabs, used cabs if you want, have gone, what's going to happen is people will have no alternative but to go to one or other of the electric choices. Now, that means you're forced to take out finance. If you take the finance out over 5 years, you're probably going to pay, certainly for the more expensive option, over 70 grand, for the less, 60 grand. That is a massive, massive gamble. And people that have trouble getting finance, because they've got a bad credit history, they're going to be left behind, unfortunately. Which is why today I decided to take my rather smaller punt. For the next 5 years, today I laid out just over 10 grand, which means for me, if I do want to take 3 or 4 weeks off in the summer now and again, or the spring, and go to Jersey with my lovely grandkids, I don't have to worry about, oh my God, I've got to find £900 a month, and every month. Also, the fleets have very, very kindly over the last year kept their rents low, to the point where really they're just not really making any money, so they tell me. But when things get back to normal and there's, market forces, more drivers and cabs, well then they're going to start obviously putting their rents up. And I worked out for myself to rent a cab for the next 5 years every week would be in the region of probably 60, 70 grand. So on my part, if it all ends up a dreadful mistake, and I'm honest, I'll let you know, it certainly will never be, as far as I'm concerned, the Wall Street crash. It's just been a bad punt. I have to say, changing the subject, that I've really been enjoying Grant Davis's London Cab Drivers Club YouTube channel. What I like about it is the presentations are not too long, 28, 30 minutes. And Grant Davis, now and again, even lets his guests get a word in. And if you're listening, Grant, you know I'm only joking. You're doing a good job. In fact, I don't know how anybody hasn't thought of it before. It's a great way of communicating. But the other day, I couldn't believe it. Peter DaCosta of KPM fame, infamy if you like. Not really. I haven't seen Peter DaCosta for over 20 years, maybe 25 years. I always presumed Peter was retired in the Bahamas, bronzed. I bought 3 cabs in my time at KPM and 2 at Man Overton. I can tell you KPM was far superior to Man Overton. But I have to take issue with at least one of Peter DaCosta's statements, proclamations, answers. First, I'll talk about Peter DaCosta a little bit. I didn't know him very well. He was always came across to me as preoccupied, very smart, was always wearing suits when you saw him at KPM, a bit like Brian Rice at Dialer Cab. But Peter's suits were very dark. He used to wear one suit, it was a jet black suit, and he used to walk past me so briskly that I could actually feel a breeze. I used to like Keith very much of KPM. He was more the mechanical guy, always would say hello, remembered people's names. The other partner, Michael, I only ever really had one doings with him. Also, they had a chief engineer, chief mechanic, a guy called Andy, if anybody remembers him. He was also very obliging. But I always wondered, and maybe Jamie and Matt can tell me after this, or tell us all after this broadcast, what actually happened to KPM, because they were only, I would say, second to Man Overton. I mean, who would be top dog now, would you say? Ascot's? Biggest thing out there? No, Man Overton probably, and then Ascot's. But did they fall from grace? Was the Vito's, going into the Vito's a bad move? It's just that KPM sort of lost its gravitas and sort of position in the trade. I mean, once they owned practically both sides of the road, Hemming Street. Now Hemming Street are blocks of flats. Did Peter DaCosta and KPM own the land, or were they just renting it? Did they make a fortune? Who knows? Maybe it's none of our business. To be honest, I don't even know where they trade out of anymore. A lot of their mechanics all went their separate ways and started their own garages in the Bethnal Green area. So let's get to my original point regards Peter DaCosta that I take issue with. He said that the beginning of the end for the cab trade is when we parted from the public carriage office. I do agree with that slightly. And then he did say, we knew what they wanted. He said we had a good relationship with them. We knew what they wanted and we gave them what they wanted. But they gave them what they wanted at the driver's expense. I didn't know it at the time, but I do know it now, because when you've just come into the business, you go with the flow. But the overhauls back in the day were a racket. The public carriage office had a rating system, so many of the garages were just changing parts that didn't need changing, taking your cab in with new parts, getting the pass and giving you a massive big bill, an unwarranted big bill. Man Overton were worse than KPM. A friend of mine had a 1-year-old cab, first overhaul, over £1,000. We're talking about, nearly 30 years ago, 28 years ago. My overhauls back then at KPM were in the region of £700, £800, £900 a time. And they would also keep your cab for about a week. Another place I had it done, kept my cab for 10 days and charged me a fortune. And the psychology was, well, the longer we've got your cab, the more we must be working on it. But in actual fact, for most of that time, your cab was just sitting around unattended. These days, and it's probably the only thing we can thank Boris Johnson for, is you just take your cab for an MOT. Some people do this, take your cab for an MOT, and what passes get fixed, and then take your chances and take it up. A lot of guys get a pass. They actually spend hardly anything on their cabs. So it is my contention that back in the supposedly good old days, KPM plus others were making money hand over fist by taking advantage of their customers' gullibility. And they'd all been doing it for so many years that there didn't seem anything wrong with it. On that note, thank you for bearing with me for 11 minutes and 49 seconds. Till next time, be lucky all.
Right, there you go. That was a Drumslayer.
Yeah, saying it as it was.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I mean...
Not enough time to go into that about garages this week, but maybe we'll answer it in a future podcast.
Always good to have his input, though.
Yeah, about overalls and things like that. And I agree with certain things that he said. Yeah. Some garages were definitely taking the piss out of drivers.
Yeah.
But I'll maybe in a future show, I'll give my perspective on doing overalls for cabs. And I can tell you now that an examiner that I knew, who's sadly no longer with us, that was working at NSL, I asked him how many of these taxis that are passing here would have passed at the carriage office, or how many would have failed at the carriage office, and he said 95% of them would have failed.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's how the standards have dropped, and I can tell you that a lot of these cabs are driving around with what I term as their arse hanging out, basically.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we've both worked on vehicles, so we've got some... Yeah. And that was always the thing, obviously, when I had my own cabs and stuff like that. Before I actually fell into you, in actual fact, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Because I could do lots of stuff myself, and because I've got a knowledge of vehicles.
Yeah.
It's always good. If you don't know nothing about vehicles, I think you should do. I mean, but now, listen, this was when I was a kid, do you know what I mean? But nowadays, it's slightly different with all the different torques and different bolts they use, not so you won't actually get under the cover of the thing. That's to see what's wrong. But then that's just them protecting their to make sure he's trying to get it to a main dealer.
Yeah. We'll go into that in another show, because we're running out of time, basically, because we've got so many contributors this week that
which is good.
It's going to be a very long show. And one thing that I'm always aware of is what Drumslayer said about keeping things short, and last week's show was nearly 2 hours long again. And
that's the problem with it.
What we really need to do is put two shows together every week.
What it is, it's me, isn't it? It's as soon as I get in here, I just won't stop.
And don't forget, we're now on YouTube. We need some more YouTube subscribers, so we can get the YouTube URL. You can find the link to our YouTube channel. I'll just go on YouTube and type in Cab Chat and we'll come up, but not as we wanted to. So you can find the link to our YouTube channel in the notes for this podcast. So if podcasts are not your thing and YouTube is more your thing, you can listen on YouTube. No pictures at the moment, just a picture that says Cab Chat, the Taxi Trades Premier podcast.
Premier
podcast. And we've got to thank Parker Cabby for doing all the graphics for us.
Absolutely, thank you,
Cab Chat.
Thank you, John.
Always doing bits and pieces in the background there. So thanks for them, John. But as I said, we're on YouTube. You can listen to the whole show on Mixcloud with music and bits and pieces in as well.
That is the unadulterated.
Yeah. The one that's on the podcast apps is normally a little bit cut down from the main full show. And what goes out on YouTube is slightly different again.
Amazing.
All because of this copyright thing. The thing is, you can play copyrighted music on Mixcloud because it's covered. They pay the licensing fees for it and everything, the downloads and whatever. Because also on Mixcloud you can't actually download it. That's the difference. You listen to it, you don't actually download it. Whereas with a podcast you download it. So that's one of the bones of contention with copyright and stuff like that.
Absolutely right.
So
good contributors from all around.
Yep. If you want to get in touch with us, you can do so by going to the website cabchatshow.uk, where all of our social media links are. I'll repeat some of them for you. You can find us on Twitter at CabChat. On Facebook at facebook.com/cabchat. We're on Instagram, instagram.com/cabchatuk. And also on YouTube, which you can't find youtube.com/cabchat because we ain't got enough subscribers yet to capture that.
Yeah.
So we need some more subscribers to capture that. And if we get to 100 subscribers, we'll give our 100th subscriber a prize. We'll give you a Mars bar. How about that?
A Marianne Faithful. And we're also available on, anything else?
Mixcloud. You can find us on mixcloud.com/cabchat.
Also, eBay, Exchange and Mart, and Reader's Wife, Scratch and Sniff.
Yep, exactly.
We're still in all them publications.
Yeah, we're still in all them as well.
Okay, just checking.
Yeah, we're still on all of them as well. So that's all we've got time for this week.
Thank you very much for listening.
Yep, as always. And we'll be back next week, I'll take it.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
and in the meantime, please keep safe and keep sane.
Yeah, and keep communicating with us. Keep
good, bad, ugly. We don't mind.
Yeah,
we take it all in, don't we?
Don't care.
We take it all in.
Interaction.
If you feel like you want to vent your spleen, then please don't come here. No, listen, please listen. We're here.
Yep. So until next week, that's all from me.
And it's definitely all from me.
Yeah, so speak to you later. Be lucky out there.
All the best. Bye.
Bye-bye.